Alright guys, I am back with my review of this week's TNA Impact Wrestling for February 20th, 2014. And the show starts with Magnus and Dixie Carter. Actually, the show started with a message saying rest in peace to Nelson Frazier, better known as Viscera. And he did pass away this week. He was really young too, like early 40s. And that sucks. I've been watching him since I was a kid with Men on a Mission, and when he won the King of the Ring, and then when he came back as Viscera, and then when he humped Matt Hardy in the middle of the ring. Just always an entertaining guy who was gigantic, just a huge dude. So it definitely sucks that he passed away, but TNA did pay tribute to him. I'm sure WWE is going to do the same thing on SmackDown, and if not, because SmackDown may already be taped, then I'm sure they're going to do something for him on Raw. But anyways, the show starts here with Magnus and Dixie Carter. An MVP comes out, and he says he wants to do a lethal lockdown match, with the winner getting complete control of the company. Magnus accepts on behalf of Dixie, and he says he's not going to be in the match because he's facing Samoa Joe. And he says that he would make MVP his biatch. So MVP attacks him. EC3 runs out, they beat down MVP, and Gunner runs out to make the save. We see the Wolves being held back by security. They fight him off, and then the Wolves come out, and Magnus runs away. He leaves EC3 to the Wolves, and Davey Richards kicks EC3 in the stomach. This was so awesome. So EC3 runs backstage, and he's upset at Magnus. And he says, "Magnus, you literally just threw me to the Wolves." And Magnus says, "What?" What an awesome heel he is, man. Magnus has been great. And he tells EC3 to settle down and do what's right. He just doesn't care about anyone. Magnus has been doing a great job, but I also want to mention that I think Dixie Carter has been doing a very good job as well. The past few weeks, or the past month or so, I think she's really been doing a great job with this heel character. I think she's becoming more confident in the role. And I would also like to say that MVP has been doing awesome since he came back. His promos have been great. Even last week, the whole thing calling EC3, C3PO, that was great stuff, and he's just been awesome on the mic since. Samoa Joe's in the ring, and he says he's here to fight. And he issues an open challenge, and the Bromans come out. And he says he's going to fight them all. So it's the Bromans and Zema Ion versus Samoa Joe. And Joe dives on the Bromans, then he hits the Muscle Buster on Zema Ion and chokes him out for the win. And normally I would say, you just buried the tag team champions. But let's be honest, they've done so much damage to Joe over the years, they have to do shit like this to build him back up. Then backstage we see Christy Hemme talking to some guy. She leaves, and Samuel Shaw comes up behind him like Solid Snake, grabs him, and he just says, "Shh." Then he drags him to the back and throws the guy around. Just dumb. Bobby Roode goes to talk to James Storm, and they're acting like he's going to retire later, but I don't think he is. I actually think James Storm is going to screw Gunner over in his match against Magnus. But this actually got me thinking they could be trying to reform Beer Money here and have them both as heels, and then they could feud with the Wolves. That would be awesome. Then we see Austin Aries talking to MVP. MVP asks him to join his team for Lethal Lockdown. It's going to be MVP and the Wolves. And Austin Aries says he needs to think about it. Then they show this video of TNA and all the success they've had in the UK. And then it shifts into an angle with Madison Rayne and Gail Kim brawling backstage. So this leads to Gail Kim versus Madison Rayne in a knockout street fight. And I didn't think the match was very good, but Gail Kim did break her nose, or busted her nose open, when Madison Rayne kicks a chair into her face. So her nose is actually bleeding during the match. But they still did the finish with Madison Rayne being distracted by Lady Tapa, and Gail Kim hits her with a Knockouts title and gets the win. Then we see a video of Gunner and his whole life, basically, how he joined the Marines. He always wanted to be a wrestler. Some interviews with his parents. It was a whole big thing. They're really hyping Gunner up. And at one point he says that he knows what struggling feels like, having to drive to all the shows and work for everything he's got. And he doesn't think Magnus has ever had to drive himself to a show and get paid $10 or nachos, get paid with a drink and a hot dog. And that made me wonder if Gunner has ever worked for Ian Rotten. EC3 cuts a promo backstage implying that Kurt Angle is going to announce his retirement soon or something like that. EC3 was pretty good here. Then Storm tells Gunner that tonight is his night, and Gunner gives Storm the briefcase that has the tag team title shot in it. Then Bobby Roode comes out and he says he's retiring. He can't take Dixie Carter anymore. And Dixie comes out and says he can't retire because he has a contract and she needs him to be the captain of Team Dixie at Lockdown. And Roode says, "Why should I do that for you?" And she says that she'll give him 10% of TNA. He'll be part owner. And Roode says, "So I can just have my lawyers draw up a contract, bring it to you, and you'll sign it, no questions asked?" And she's like, "Yeah." So the first thing I'm thinking is he's going to do some fancy bullshit where if she signs it, he owns all of TNA or something like that. And I really hope they don't do that, because that's exactly what happened with the whole Immortal thing, and it was just terrible and very confusing with the lawyers and everything, and it was just a dumb angle because it's so obvious that it's bullshit and that there is no way that this would actually work in the real world. You can't just have someone sign something, they don't know what they're signing, and then boom, you own their fucking company. It doesn't work that way. Then we see Bad Bones or some gut check guy Jeremy Borash is interviewing, and you know something's going to happen here because why the fuck is this on television? And behind these guys you see Christy Hemme, and she's on her phone and she's talking to some dude, and Samuel Shaw just runs up and attacks this guy, and Christy Hemme gets knocked over, so she's knocked out. Samuel Shaw beats this guy up and then carries Christy Hemme off. But where the hell does this go? He has no opponent. Who is going to come and save Christy Hemme? No one. Bad Influence is talking to Bobby Roode, and they're all excited because he's going to be 10% owner of the company if he wins a Lockdown. And he says that he wants them on his team, but they have to prove it. So it's Bad Influence versus the Wolves, and this was a good match here. I just wish they got a little bit more time, but I understand there's no reason to rush this, and you don't want to blow everything you got in their first match together. But this was good. The Wolves hit the double stomps onto Christopher Daniels for the win. Then backstage, Samuel Shaw has Christy Hemme, and she's waking up, and she says, "Where's Anderson? I was looking at pictures of his twins." That was Anderson? You can't even tell. I watched it again, and you can't even tell that's Anderson. So I guess now we know who's going to go save Christy Hemme. We get another Willow video. And I was watching this last week, and I was thinking, that's an interesting character. It could be good. I'm going to wait and see what Jeff Hardy can do with this. But after watching this one, I have a feeling that this is going to get very stupid. It's Gunner versus Magnus for the world title, no DQ, and Magnus is calling for someone to come out and help him, and the Wolves and James Storm come out instead. Then we see EC3 and the Bromans jump the guardrail. They start brawling with the Wolves and Storm. They all fight to the back. Then Gunner hits the flying headbutt on Magnus, and Rockstar Spud, who I guess was hiding under the ring, puts Magnus's foot on the rope. So Storm comes back out and tries to prevent Spud from interfering in the match. Gunner goes back up top. Spud runs in. Storm goes in after him, throws him out. Then he tells Gunner, go for the flying headbutt again. So as Gunner comes off the top, Storm super kicks him. Magnus covers him and gets the win. So James Storm did turn on Gunner here, effectively turning heel in the process. And it makes sense. I mean, Gunner was going to lose this match. But what do you do with Gunner after he loses? So you had to have Storm turn on him here, and I thought it was well done. And overall, I thought this was a good Impact. I enjoyed this episode of Impact. The only thing that really comes to mind that was just bad was the whole Samuel Shaw crap. I don't know what they're thinking with that or why they continue to push it, but I know exactly what's going to happen. You're going to have Anderson feud with Sam Shaw, and Anderson's going to make fun of him. He's going to call him a weirdo and say, oh, you're creepy, and make a bunch of dumb jokes. and the matches are going to be terrible. So I don't understand the point, but whatever. So that's my review of the show this week. Hope you guys liked the video. Leave your thoughts on the show in the comments, and thanks for watching.